It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut. He didn't cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade.
Ha-ho, hey, Kargi. Welcome all of our friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. We discuss local and national Native news, stories, and events here on Native Roots Radio. And as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. And this portion of the show is supported by Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Hey, I just want to give a big shout out to our new and continuous Patreon donors. You know, we appreciate you all so much, and you really do help keep our show up and running. And that means a lot to us. Producer Haley Cherry here with you now. My Ho-Chunk name is Chasha Pewangaway, which means Little Eagle Princess. Starting off the show today as my Dega, host Robert Pilot attends to some very important community work this evening. But we have an awesome show lined up for today. I want to start things off in a good way here. And introduce, we have another weekly update from our neighbor state across the river. So this is our weekly update from the governor of Wisconsin, Tony Evers.
Hey there, Native Roots Radio. Governor Tony Evers here with my weekly update. Before I took office, years of disinvestment had caused our roads and bridges to crumble into disrepair. So when I ran for governor, I promised to fix the darn roads, and we've been hard at work ever since doing just that. Since 2019, our administration has improved over 7,424 miles of road and 1,780 bridges, including over 900 miles of road and over 200 bridges just this last year alone. And we're not slowing down in 2024. This week, I'm traveling across the state on pothole patrol, filling potholes, talking with local leaders, and fixing the darn roads myself. When I visit communities across our state, it's clear that every pothole filled, street resurfaced, or bridge reconstructed made people's lives a little better, a little easier, and a whole lot safer. That's why fixing the darn roads has been such a critical priority for me and my administration, and I'm proud of the significant investments we have made to do this important work. During my time in office, we've secured some of the largest investment our state's transportation budget has seen in years, all while keeping debt service payments low. And I was proud to secure historic increases in shared revenue for local communities, including a 20% increase for most municipalities statewide that will enable local governments to invest in community needs like local roads. As transportation funding continues to grow, so does the number of projects. In fact, there are more than 300 state highway and bridge improvement projects scheduled across Wisconsin each year. So that old joke is right. There are two seasons in Wisconsin, winter and construction season. But that's a good thing. It means we're getting to work to build the 21st century infrastructure Wisconsinites expect and deserve. Thank you. Back to you, Robert, and Native Roots Radio.
Hey, Governor Tony Evers, thanks so much for those updates. That joke, two seasons, winter and construction season, or as you know, post pothole season after our long winters. But thank you again so much. Next up, we have some speeches from yesterday's grand reopening of our new Minneapolis American Indian Center here in Minnesota. And also, I just want to give another shout out to, for those who might not know, Minnesota is the only state, or one of the only states, that dedicates a whole month to American Indian celebrations. So that is the month of May. So happy second day of American Indian Month here in Minnesota. Moving on, we're going to begin with our speeches. This is Sam. We're going to start with Sam, who was the overseeing architect from White Earth, and he was overseeing a lot of the work being done in the new renovations at the American Indian Center. So we'll go ahead and take a listen to him, and then after that, it will be our Minnesota Lieutenant Governor, Peggy Flanagan, who is also White Earth tribal nation up in northern Minnesota. So without ado, let's go ahead and take a listen.
Welcome, everyone. Bonjour. Again, Sam Olbekson. It's been a pleasure to work probably over 14 years on the idea for this building. So way back over a decade ago, many of you here were part of the visioning process, just to imagine what this community could do, what we need as a community to serve and to come together and be together as community. And I think that's the most important thing. I want to thank the board of directors and everyone on the capital campaign, everyone in the community who's been part of this. And I'll be brief, but I just wanted to, again, thank everyone here for coming, because the best part of opening a building is to have the community inside. And without you inside, it's not complete. So I'll look forward to seeing everyone inside, and miigwech, and I'll turn it over to Peggy. Where's Peggy? Peggy. Okay, Peggy.
We have a schedule here. So our next speaker, thank you, Sam. Our next speaker is the Lieutenant Governor, Peggy Flanagan. So Peggy is currently the highest ranking Native woman to be elected to executive office in the United States, and during her tenure has been a huge champion of our Native community here and our Native communities across the state. So we are deeply honored to have the Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan here. So welcome, Peggy.
Okay. Well, bonjour, everybody. I'm so happy to be here today. I can't wait for you to walk through these doors. It is incredibly beautiful, and I got a little sneak peek last week and was completely overwhelmed and had tears in my eyes, because we deserve this space. Our community deserves this space. Yes. If y'all could just follow me around and just do this wherever, I'd appreciate it. White Earth, we're real humble people. And super good looking. But I will just say this: the work of Mary Lagarde, the dedication, the tenacity, the just unending advocacy on the Capitol campaign, but also at the Minnesota State Capitol. We are here for this ribbon cutting because of her heart and because of her love for the urban Native community. Miigwech to you, Mary Lagarde. And I want to just name one more thing, because when we talk about capital projects or bonding at the state legislature, sometimes it can feel abstract, but this is not. When we designate resources and dollars for Black, Indigenous, communities of color, we know how to spend those resources in a way that meets the needs of our own communities. This is case in point. This is an investment that will matter for generation after generation after generation. And so I just want to say to everyone who had a hand in literally building this building with their hands and raising money and their prayers to create this beautiful space, and all of the new memories that will be created in this building, miigwech, what an incredible celebration. I can't wait for y'all to go inside. Thank you.
Hey, that was our Minnesota Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan from yesterday's reopening of the Minneapolis American Indian Center. We're going to take a quick break here, but I want to quickly shout out some of our good friends that I and Robert got to see yesterday. That is Angie Vig of Vig Guitars in St. Paul, and also Christine of Pretendians Band, as well as some of our old Native Roots producers, Ogama and Zoe. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back after this break. Stay with us.
As nature awakens this spring, let's awaken to the call of protection. Native brothers and sisters, let's bloom together by getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Let's nurture our heritage and safeguard our futures, one vaccination at a time. So be a vaccinative this spring by protecting yourself and others in our Native community. Whether you're due for an updated vaccine or just getting started, all COVID vaccines offer vital protection against severe illness. For our elders over 65, the latest vaccine is recommended by the CDC to maintain protection. So spring forward with strength, Native communities. Embrace the renewal of the season and safeguard our traditions by getting vaccinated against COVID-19. For more information, including details about clinics offering free vaccines, visit vaccines.gov. That's vaccines.gov. This message is brought to you in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Health.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by JS Bean Factory off Randolph Avenue in St. Paul. Only the good stuff keeps us awake. Hey, everyone. Haley Cherry here with you, producer for Native Roots Radio, presents I'm Awake. And we're going to dive right back into our speeches from yesterday's ribbon-cutting ceremony at the Minneapolis American Indian Center. Next up, I know we have 3 tribal leaders speaking from up north, and mainly, I think, White Earth, Fond du Lac, and Leech Lake. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
Right. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. So we are joined by, there are a number of tribal leaders that have come down or come up, wherever you live, and are here to celebrate with us. And I want to give this opportunity to, first will be Chairman Dupuis from the Fond du Lac Band of Ojibwe. Chairman Dupuis, please come up and say a few words.
Awaju, Naganimus and Dizikas, Nagachuan Juba, Megazidodem. First of all, I'll say Miigwech to all of you. I think the credit for anything like this is for everything that they did. And it really needs to be held high on that principle. I grew up on the other side of the river on the west side of St. Paul. When I was a kid, I'd come over here to play basketball. They used to play baseball and everything else that you could think of. We'd come over here. And Jules Fairbanks halfway house at the point in time, we'd do a massive run from here to Duluth every year and run back. I can't do that anymore. I'm a little bit older, but the point is that you have something that belongs to you now. And for as a tribal leader is to say this is a way that we can have that true connection to our people who live off reservations and made their home within these communities. And it's a community built up of tribal people from all over the country. And you need to take pride. I'm not telling you what to do. It's just one of the questions that are asked all the time is why we do what we do. And it's because you're proud of yourself and who you are and where you come from. It doesn't matter how many miles away that you live from your home place. It is who you are, as who we are as people, as Indigenous people. So I just want to say, miigwech to all of you, that this building here shows the progression of people that when they come together, what they can do and what they can accomplish. And what does that mean at the end of the day? Now we have some place where we can bring everything that we have within our own reservations to a service principle, so we have the ability to take care of our people better, much better. We can look over there, there's a pharmacy. We can down the road, there's offices. All tribal communities that put something together to do this, and now this building shows what it can be done and what it means from this point. But it's up to you what you want to do, how you want services brought forward. And so this gives us ability to come to a place, sit down and talk, which we need big time. It's really hard to come in front and talk with my sister over here, Lieutenant Governor. But before I go, I just want one statement for everybody, and everybody can listen to this, please. Fond du Lac has the best wild rice. Miigwech to all of you. All
right, well, maybe we should have like a wild rice contest or something, right? One of these days we're going to have to do that here. So thank you, Chairman Dupuis. Next, we have Chairman Jackson from the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe, and he's come down here today, and I'd like for him to come up and say a few words.
Okay, Wushu. Thank you, Mary. Faron Jackson Sr., an indigenous cause. Giwaden Indigo, Makwan and Dundem. Apachigo Nimi Windam, Mama Yayan Nungam, Minogishi Gud. All right. I was just excited to be on my way down here this morning with my daughters, excited to dance in the powwow this evening. And I was just thinking about the memories here for the Indian Center from the basketball tournaments we all played in and the bingo games. We came here with our families and our mothers to play bingo. All them things are cherished memories. Like Kevin related to, we're only going to enhance the services that can be done at a complex like this. The older community center served its purpose, but it's time to get ready for the next generations with the new building. And I just want to thank all the vendors and all the federal funding programs that helped make this happen. And I remember living over here. I mostly lived in North Minneapolis when I lived down in the Twin City, but on north side. But then we moved to the south side, and I went to Seward Elementary over here a little bit too. And I remember coming over here, riding bikes with all the Nijis over here, and we were playing in the hole here when they were just prepping the ground to get ready to build the building. And I remember that, and I think that was in 1975. And then I think at that time, this Minneapolis American Indian Center was one of the only urban Indian centers in big cities. And I remember that, statements made to that effect, and all the good tribal leaders that gathered here, and all the services it offers with the mud groups, and everybody's coming together here. And I'm excited for this day, and it's good to see all the people here today lining the streets. It's good to hear the drum and have the parade. And hey, let's continue out and celebrate this special day. Oh.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Jackson. So our last speaker is Chairman Mike Fairbanks. And Chairman Fairbanks is from the White Earth Band of Ojibwe. And he's a relative of mine.
Miigwech, cuz, being asked to come up here and be a part of this celebration, means a lot. Means a lot for not only our people back home in White Earth, but all Anishinaabe. So miigwech, Anishinaabe. Meimish Kawigabo Indigenous Kas, Megizzi and Dudame, Kawabaga Kenakug and Dun Jaba. Miigwech, everyone, and listen to the Ogamas, talk about this place years ago in the past. It does bring a lot of fond memories here of powwows and tournaments and coming over here when I was a kid. I grew up in St. Paul, East Side, McDonough Projects, that area. So I know how it is to live hard and to be happy. And my mom, Elsie, I know Chairman Dupuis talked about my father, Jewel Fairbanks, who put together the aftercare. These are things that I do have a footprint here. So I know I'm just so proud of, all of us here today and being a part of this whole celebration and being a part of the parade. People were coming up to me and asking me, like, you're one of the first chairmen to walk in this. And that felt very good today to hear that. And, I was even catching myself dancing with the drums. And that's why I wanted to say miigwech to the staff carriers and to the singers and to the drums out there singing those beautiful songs. That's one thing I really, really made me feel good today, especially with Jesus above us here, and shining down on us today and making this into a beautiful, beautiful day. So this is really a delightful day here in Minneapolis. And like I said, talking about my cousin here earlier and, the work and the hours she put in to get this place where it is today. And I'm so proud of her and proud of all of us, for supporting this. And all the community is here. And that's what makes us, and that's who we are. Getting back to Chairman and the best wild rice. Who has the best wild rice? It's White Earth Nation. We know that. White Earth. So I want to say miigwech to everyone and stay safe. I shook all the officers' hands I could. They do so much work for us. Miigwech, miu.
Well, everyone, that wild rice controversy about who has the best wild rice, I think will be an ongoing debate. But I agree. I think a wild rice competition would be really, really fun to do. The Minneapolis American Indian Center is kind of home base for all of us tribal people in the state of Minnesota. So to have this resource is really just amazing to the community, and it means a lot to us. And I just want to say a big thank you, Pinagigi, to everyone, all the organizations, the senators, everyone who volunteered, worked, marched, came out, drove from out of town yesterday to be with us in Minneapolis. That was really special and something really amazing to see. And I was happy to be a part of it. Anything for our community. Up next, we have Rachel with StrongHearts Native Helpline. So stay with us. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas is your pathway to a bachelor's degree. Located in downtown Minneapolis, Doherty Family College offers an affordable education that includes free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaches, and a Metro Transit pass. As a full-time Doherty Family College student, you'll benefit from mentorship from St. Thomas faculty, along with paid internships and support from Minnesota's largest private college. Ready to turn your dreams into reality? Apply now at dfc.stthomas.edu. Doherty Family College, your journey to success starts here.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
This message is brought to you by StrongHearts Native Helpline. If you are experiencing domestic or sexual violence, StrongHearts advocates provide culturally appropriate support and advocacy for Native Americans and Alaska Natives. Free, confidential, anonymous, 24/7. StrongHearts advocates are Native American and take a Native-centered approach to every contact. Call or text 1-844-762-8483. That's 1-844-7-NATIVE. Or chat online at strongheartshelpline.org.
This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Awesome group, and they've been supporting us, Native Roots Radio, for over 7 years, and the great work they do all over Turtle Island. So, hey, we got Rachel Carr-Shunk, who's Deputy Executive Officer of StrongHearts, and, you know, StrongHearts has been around 7 years, as long as Native Roots Radio, and it's been kind of fun to see the growth, because I remember the limited hours that StrongHearts started out with back in the day, and I see StrongHearts ads in our WODOC, which is a tribal paper, and you guys are open all the time. I want to welcome you, Rachel, for the first time being on Native Roots Radio.
Awesome, Miigwech. Thank you for having me.
Hey, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into a little bit what StrongHearts does and how people can use this free service.
Sure. So first and foremost, I am a Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indian citizen. Grew up in my tribal community, born and raised in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. So like I was saying, I grew up in my tribal community, I went off to college. I went to the Michigan State University and got my feet wet outside of our tribal community, but then returned back home and started working as a victim advocate for my tribe, the Sioux tribe. And I did that for a number of years, close to 5 years. And then I had moved on to actually start working for a tribal coalition, Uniting Three Fires Against Violence, which is similar to MUSAC, the organization that did that sponsored this call. Or that had the advertisement. I worked there. I started there in 2014 as a policy specialist, and then came on as the executive director for United Three Fires for just up until this past February. And I transitioned over to StrongHearts Native Helpline to just get get accustomed to working for a national org, but still on behalf of Native survivors of domestic and sexual violence. So my entire career since I graduated college has been, for advocating for survivors of domestic and sexual violence who are Native Americans, whether they, deal with violence in their community, on their reservation, or near their tribal community, or in, away in urban settings and things like that. So.
Well, before we get really deep in, especially I'd love to talk a little bit about who should be calling and when. And one of the things that I want to bring up right away that I thought was a really good point last time we talked to somebody from StrongHearts is to be able to call and talk to somebody that's almost anonymously, because as you know, especially here, like in Minnesota and Wisconsin and the 5-state area, we're all related. Mm-hmm. So to have that anonymous part of being able to reach out is so important.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that when we talk, especially to some of our non-Native partners or non-Native allies, how important it is to be able to access services in an anonymous way, if that's what our relatives are seeking, right? I mean, I was just at my Indian health clinic this morning, and I knew a good amount of people in the waiting room, right? And so I think that's really unique to a lot of our relatives, our tribal relatives across Indian country is sometimes you have that. You're going to have that if you're seeking services. And so to have something like StrongHearts be anonymous, for someone to call in and say, I need some support with this. I'm dealing with, violence in my household, my family members dealing with violence, and knowing that, it's not going to get back to someone, or they feel like they have to be ashamed about it. It just is a wonderful opportunity that we're funded in a way to be able to do that for our relatives.
Well, let's talk about, I didn't mean to get ahead of you. I wanted to make sure I brought that up because I thought that was such a good point that I never thought of in the last time we talked to your organization. So let's talk a little bit about what StrongHearts is.
Sure. Yeah. So StrongHearts Native Helpline is a 24/7 safe and confidential and anonymous domestic violence and sexual assault helpline for Native Americans and Alaska Natives. We offer culturally honoring or culturally specific support and advocacy. And so what I mean by that is that all of our advocates are Native American or Indigenous and trained in understanding some of the unique considerations that happen when our relatives experience violence. We have unique circumstances like historical trauma, some jurisdictional issues, just things that impact victimization in a way that a lot of non-Native people aren't aware of. And so, you're compounding victimization, you're compounding violence with all of these other things that make it much more complex and much more difficult for non-Natives to understand how that impacts us, both, today, but also, impacts our families, impacts our communities, impacts how, we approach services. So it really is a reflective advocacy approach to really advocacy and to making sure that our relatives are being heard and understood in a way that, unfortunately, I don't think, a lot of non-Native programming can do.
Absolutely. And what I hope someday, and I'm old, and I hope someday that with organizations like yours and the healing and people getting back to traditional ways, that we can break this cycle someday because, we're not, Haley and I are related and we're not that far generational away from people that have gone through really hell,
Absolutely.
And handed it down.
Absolutely. And I think when we have, in all of my career and the conversations I've had from, other advocates, but also survivors, you can trace a lot of our trauma back one generation, if not our current generation, right? Like it's cycles and cycles of trauma. And until we can address that, we can't focus on the healing, right? We have to have a good understanding of it. And that in itself those are difficult conversations to have with people who don't know that and aren't prepared to talk about it.
Right. And there's trauma and there's trauma that, you can recognize in other people. And sometimes it's harder to recognize in yourself too. But people act out in such ways, and I'm glad there's StrongHearts because there is help out there. If something smells fishy, it's usually fishy, and you need to reach out.
Right, and that's another thing about StrongHearts is that our advocates, not only do they provide peer support, but we have a database that includes all of the both Native and non-Native service providers who can do some of that additional advocacy that our advocates can't, right? So we can do a lot of crisis support, peer support, but if a survivor is needing, more direct assistance, whether it be legal advocacy or financial assistance, things like that, we can, do warm handoffs or give information and referrals to survivors that are calling our lines so that we can connect them to other resources that they may need that maybe they're not aware of. And that's so common. A lot of the times working in advocacy, you don't know what's available. You don't know what's out there. You don't know what's available for resources for survivors. And so if our advocates have that database and can do those referrals for them, it's another step towards healing.
I'm not sure if I heard this from StrongHearts. I'm pretty sure I did, but I think a lot of our relatives that are going through this that need help have not only children, but have animals too that they don't want to leave behind.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. There are so many reasons that make it difficult to leave a violent or dangerous situation. And one, our advocates are trained to understand that. Mm-hmm. But two, they're also, we are updating our database to include information about, some of those circumstances where maybe pets are allowed at a certain shelter, or maybe they're not allowed at this shelter, but there might be support, and assistance for pets in a different way. So those are things that we're trying to catalog and collect so that we can give the most up-to-date, accurate information for our survivors. Because that's something, we want to be able to do. If they're in crisis and they're seeking something, we want to give them as much information as we can to what's available, what's something that they can access to promote their safety.
Yeah, and I think we got about a minute left in this segment. And I'd like to turn the conversation a little bit towards MIRW in this last minute, and then jump into it with the last segment.
Okay. Yeah, I think missing and murdered Indigenous people, missing and murdered Indigenous relatives, all of those acronyms, I think very much intersect with domestic and sexual violence and advocacy. So it's important that we keep this work at the forefront so that more people are aware of what is MMIW or MMIR or MMIP, and how can we, promote access to safety and justice and healing in our communities.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll jump right into that. We got about 30 seconds left here, huh, Haley?
About a minute.
Oh, about a minute. Well, hey, we can talk a little bit more, too. Let's just give StrongHearts' phone number out while we're doing this last minute, and how to get a hold of StrongHearts.
Sure. So StrongHearts, you can access us by calling 1-844-7-NATIVE. So 1-844-762-8483. And we also offer chat and texting, and chat can be found at our website at StrongHeartsNativeHelpline.org.
Wow.
Sorry, StrongHeartsHelpline.org. My apologies.
Oh, no problem. We'll bring that out again, too, in the next segment. You're listening to Native Roots Radio, and we're here with Rachel, and we're talking about StrongHearts Helpline and the great work they do. What a great opportunity we get to talk to all these doers, Haley.
Yes, I know.
This is Native Roots Radio.
J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, could potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
As we gear up for American Indian Celebration Month in May, it's crucial to prioritize our health, especially with celebrations on the horizon. If you start feeling off, like a fever, a tickle in the throat, or heavy fatigue, don't ignore it. Take an at-home COVID-19 test right away. And remember, if you're not feeling well, it's okay to stay home. Your health comes first. A quick note on COVID testing. The Minnesota Department of Health's free COVID-19 at-home testing program has ended. But don't worry. If you're uninsured, you can still find no-cost tests using the CDC's COVID-19 testing locator. If you have health insurance, you might be eligible for free tests or reimbursement for testing expenses. Just ask your local pharmacy or health insurance provider for more information. Stay informed, stay protected. Let's prioritize our health this American Indian Celebration Month in May and ensure our communities and elders remain safe and healthy. This message is brought to you in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Health. Visit health.state.mn.us.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
How? Hey, we are back with Rachel Carr-Shunk, and she's Deputy Executive Officer with StrongHearts and StrongHearts Helpline. And, StrongHearts has been, like I said in the earlier segment, been around as long as Native Roots Radio, and really happy and really joyous that the organization's grown and been around this long. I was at, what just happened this weekend again? The big powwow. Gathering of the Nations. I won't say anything political about that, but I was there 3 years ago, and you know what? StrongHearts was tabling there, and I was like, wow, I know you guys. I was doing some radio work out of there about 3 years ago. It was fun. It's just great to see. I know you guys. You've been on my show. So
yeah, that is cool.
Right on. So, hey, let's talk a little bit. We left off a little bit, not only... First, let's talk about how to get a hold of StrongHearts, and then I want to kind of jump into a topic we were just talking about with the MMIR.
Yeah, so StrongHearts, you can get a hold of us by calling our phone number, and my apologies, I don't have it. Oh, I have it right here. So to call us is 1-844-7-NATIVE. So that's 1-844-762-8483. But we are also available through chat and text, and you can chat with us at our website, www.strongheartshelpline.org, and we are available 24/7, 365.
Yeah, that is just awesome, and and we can't, like Haley and I were talking about earlier, it's just like we're so blessed on this show to have doers and organizations that are really out there for our people, and it's just a privilege to have you on and have your organization on. I just can't say enough, really.
Yeah, we appreciate it as well. We definitely want our messaging to get out there, and this is work that is critical, and it's important to us as Native people and as Native advocates, because we know we have extremely disproportionate rates of violence impacting our communities. And so that, we exist to eradicate that and to promote, healing and safety and justice in our communities.
Yeah. Well, we have like a huge deal here across Turtle Island, and I know Minnesota takes this very seriously. On May 5th, talk a little bit about that day and the Day of Awareness there.
Sure. So since 2017, that was, I think, when it first was kind of May 5th was recognized as a day of awareness around missing and murdered Indigenous women. And it actually was in honor and in remembrance of Hannah Harris. She was from Northern Cheyenne tribe, and she had gone missing. And she was missing for about, I think, 4 days until her remains were found. Mm-hmm. And so May 5th was actually her birthday. And so that's how the day became recognized, because it was just another person, another Native woman who had experienced violence and had gone missing. And unfortunately, it took a number of days for a volunteer committee to find her. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't authorities. It wasn't, the resources dedicated to finding her weren't sufficient. And so this in 2017 was the first day, the National Day of Awareness, just to raise awareness that Native women in particular go missing at extremely high rates. And we suffer some of the highest rates of victimization, whether it be domestic violence or sexual violence. And just a day for people to recognize that and become aware of it. And so since then, it's really taken off. Tribes are doing proclamations or resolutions recognizing May 5th as a day of awareness. Individual states are doing it. I believe every year since 2017, the United States has done it. I know in Canada, a lot of the First Nations over there are doing it. And sometimes they do different dates. They might do, I've heard of February 14th, but May 5th is one that, sticks out in the United States. And a lot of the tribes are doing awareness events and days.
Right. And we do have our march on the 14th also here in Minnesota, and the Red Shawl March. And that's gotten nothing but bigger and bigger. We had a little pause with COVID, but it's just a big, beautiful march with, of course, our women leading it, which is the way it should be. Absolutely. There's, I think it's such an honor to be able to attend any of those events and really have that awareness and have that community gathering around this issue. And it's just truly remarkable to see young, old, men, women, two-spirit come together and say enough. We want to raise awareness, and we don't want this to happen in our communities, and we want this to be, eradicated. Absolutely. And I'm going to jump on the word raised awareness. And, we have a long history of not being considered human. When people go missing, they don't take us seriously. I've talked about this many times, Haley and Rachel. We have a state representative, and I'll never forget, she spoke at the Capitol. She's Native American and said that I've told my children I'll never leave you. So if I'm gone, don't listen to them saying that, I left or ran away. Thank you. And those powerful words that you can tell your children and to look for you, to look for her. Wow, that is really impactful. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that's the reality, right, that Native people face since colonization, right? And I think, when we talk about MMIW Day of Awareness, and that since 2017, this has been kind of like recognized on a larger scale. But the reality is that we've been dealing with colonization since the beginning, right? And that violence that's been harmed against us since the beginning. And so this is a story. These are, instances have been happening since the beginning. Right. And we have a thing here too. I never heard this, and I've brought this up many times on the show, so Haley's probably sick of hearing this, but we have Lake Superior up there, up north in Duluth, and people disappear from other countries. The boats are up there. It's just like, I had no idea, because I've never really hung out per se in the Duluth and in the harbor and all that. But while that makes sense, and it just amplifies, we've had guests on that have escaped these horrid things, and it's a real thing. And thank you, Rachel, for amplifying this conversation about MMIR. Yeah, and I think that's the reality of it, is that it's a really complex, confusing conversation to have. And you can't even pinpoint one reason, right? There's all of these intersecting reasons that make it a complex situation of why we have, I think it's over 5,000 people, Indigenous people missing. Is because when you talk about jurisdictional loopholes, when you talk about, a myriad of issues that our people face of that, why we have these high rates. I want to thank you so much. We're about to end the show, Rachel. If you could hold on after the show, I'd like to talk to you a little bit. Hey, if you're listening to this show, this is awesome. This was Rachel Carr-Shunk, Deputy Executive Officer of StrongHearts. And Haley, do you have the number handy?
I do. That's 1-844-7-NATIVES, 1-844-762-8483.
Hey, if you listen to the show, you're part of the resistance. From Chief Plenty Coops, the ground on which we stand on is sacred ground, is the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office, vote, vote, vote. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
And free Leonard Peltier now.